I'm going to the Dominican Republic and I want you to come with me.
Hola, eh?
For those who don't know, my name's Rich Prado. I run Play in School. Before we get into the trip, I want to tell you a quick story. In the spring of 2013, I attended an event to see a mentor of mine speak. At that event, he tells me he's got a new partner at his firm that he needs to introduce me to. Something about baseball and the Dominican Republic, but nothing more. The next day, I get an email introduction to an agent. 2 weeks later, I'm staying with the agent at his dad's house, just outside of San Pedro de Macorís. If that rings a bell, it's because more Major League Baseball players come from this one little town in the Dominican than anywhere else. San Pedro is often called the land of shortstops, and for good reason. The list of players from San Pedro reads like an all-star lineup. Guys like George Bell, Tony Fernandez, Pedro Guerrero, Sammy Sosa, Alfonso Soriano, Miguel Sano, and on and on and on, including family friends of my new agent friend, the Canoes. Yeah, those Canoes, as in Robinson. Hours after landing in Santo Domingo, I'm standing on a secret baseball field with Jose Cano, Robinson's father, and about 15 of his players. Seriously, a secret field. So the story goes that Robinson and a lot of his big league teammates would like to work out at this secret field during the winter as a way to get away from the media and the fans in San Pedro. You have to remember that Cano and many of the other Dominican players like David Ortiz are bigger than Elvis or the Beatles were back in the day here in the States. My trip down there was fast, less than 48 hours on the ground. I knew before I left that I wanted to return, which leads us to this trip to the Dominican Republic, which will take place during Christmas break. Returning to the DR solo would have been easy, but I wanted to do something bigger, something with impact. Within the baseball world, the Dominican Republic has an incredible lore about it. The DR is a third world country. It and Haiti form an island out in the middle of the Caribbean. How do these guys from less than dirt poor backgrounds become the best in the world at anything, much less something as difficult as baseball? Much less something that in America we consider to be an expensive hobby. The average American travel ball family spends 5 to 10 times more per year on baseball than the average Dominican makes in an entire year. Think about that. So what is this trip about? Real quick, what this trip is not about is recruiting. Now, that being said, I talk about recruiting, the recruiting process, communication strategy, and marketing more than anybody. And we will talk about that as much or as little as the players and families that come with us want to. But this trip is a cultural experience where our common language is baseball. This trip is about kids and families that live a relatively comfortable and easy life here in America, seeing what the other side looks like. This trip is about learning to have empathy for those that have less than you. This trip is about learning from those that have very little, yet somehow always seem to be happy. This trip is about seeing what real work ethic looks like. This trip is about community and relationships. So how do we do these things? Through baseball. We'll play games versus local kids. We'll work out with Dominican coaches. We'll see MLB hopefuls at one of the MLB academies. We'll catch a Dominican Winter League game. We'll also get some beach time and do some community service when not on the field. Your kids will leave the DR with a bunch of new best friends, and probably just as many Dominican friends as American ones. And they will have a memory of an experience that will last forever. On the page below, you'll see all of the details for this trip, including the dates, the itineraries, FAQs, and of course, the registration info. This trip will unfortunately be limited to just 15 to 20 baseball players, but their families are welcome and encouraged to come. This trip really does have the potential to change the lives of everyone that comes, including the players, their families, and the coaches that attend. So do me a favor, scroll down, check out all the details, and do not hesitate to contact me if you have any questions. One thing to note, there will be no tryouts. This is a first come, first serve registration. And again, limited to very few players. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you in the Dominican Republic.